To brew or not to brew? That is the question. Hey everyone, it's Jake here from Monsters and Munchkins, and today we are going to be talking about one of the most controversial subjects in Dungeons & Dragons, homebrews. Searching the internet will give you a plethora of opinions ranging from only play the classes in the player's handbook and ban warlocks, to I only play 3 halflings in a trench coat multi-classed into 6 different levels of mystic. Who's to say who's right, and if you're looking for that answer, sadly, I'm not the one to give it to you. But if you want arguments for each side, stick around, because I've got some. First of all, should homebrews be allowed? Probably not, if we're being completely honest, in all games. I remember when I took over DMing for my group several years ago. Our normal DM had just moved away, and we had been going back and forth between editions, 3rd edition, Pathfinder, 5th edition, and I took over DMing and I was a little overwhelmed. We had people not showing up to sessions, we had things all over the place, we had classes from Reddit, we had all these books, we had Ravnica, we weren't playing in a Ravnica campaign, I don't know why that book was there, and I was very confused. So in addition to some other ground rules that I sat down and laid out, I said, look guys, we're going to go back to the player's handbook, and we're going to start from scratch. After playing in that campaign for 16 levels, we got to the point where players multi-class into other books. Our ranger dipped into 2 levels of Inquisitive Rogue. No, he did more than that. He did 9 levels of Inquisitive Rogue because poor ranger. Our fighter did 2 levels of War Wizard, and our barbarian took 6 levels of Devotion Paladin for narrative reasons. Starting off really simple in that campaign made it so I was comfortable DMing, and that is the biggest thing. You need to be comfortable with your group dynamics. If you're not comfortable in the game, it's not going to be fun for anybody. So sit down and have an honest discussion in your session 0, which we will do our own video about, before the game even starts. Another point as to why there should not be homebrews. There are some really, really, really bad ones out there. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't be making homebrews, because there are some really amazing ones, but there are some that people made as jokes and put on the internet and other people take it seriously, or they just didn't care to balance it. I saw one paladin class out there that could give themselves advantage on every attack roll, and whenever they had advantage they auto crit, then max their divine smite damage, and then basically do like 200 damage in 1 turn. And nobody's gonna have fun watching that guy do that, while the rest of the party's chilling in the back doing absolutely nothing, because he just killed everything. So make sure if you are gonna include homebrews, make sure that they're good ones, and if you don't have time, maybe it's better just to take them out of the game. Homebrews do have a lot to offer. Sometimes a player such as myself, we've played a lot of classes. In this past year alone, I've played a Blood Hunter, a Paladin, a Warlock, a Druid, a Rogue, which did not last long, another Paladin, a Ranger, and a Fighter. And a Tempest Cleric, which is like a fighter but uses Booming Blade to blow everything up. And sometimes you've just gone through a lot of stuff and you want something different. I had a player come up to me when we were talking about playing D&D for the next campaign, and they were like, I really want to play a Necromancer. And I was like, well, have you looked at the ones in the player's handbook? And they were like, yes, but they're bad. And that's true. They're very sad. So we went online and we talked about this for a while, and finally we found a class that we'd both be comfortable with him playing. Another player really wanted a pet dragon. This was back when I was running a D&D campaign at my school. And they just really wanted a pet dragon. There are no classes with pet dragons, as I'm sure you guys are aware. You can search the internet and you will find a good one. It's called the Dragon Knight, and it does everything the Beastmaster Ranger should have been doing, but 1,000 times better. We used this class in the school campaign. It was great. Everybody had a good time. And then when quarantine hit, more people wanted to play this class. One of my friends played it in my Acquisitions Incorporated campaign, and it was a very balanced and fun class to play. There's a lot of flavor out there that's just not in the game, and we could reflavor stuff, but it wouldn't just be as satisfying as having that mechanic. If you watch the MCDM stream, something that I absolutely love, and I'm so excited for them to come back, is that Matt Colville homebrewed 3 classes for his players to play, just because there was nothing out there that matched what they wanted. Making your players happy will go a long way, and maybe fitting some homebrews in would help them out with that. I'll link down below to some that I think are really good and very helpful, including some expanded weapons, which I'm going to be spending a whole video in the future talking about. Another thing about homebrews is the purpose of Dungeons & Dragons itself. I have a shirt that says, you can certainly try, and I looked for it before this video and I just couldn't find it, probably because I'd recently worn it. But you can certainly try is why we play this game. Real life is so unbelievably dull that we play this game because we can try to do anything. We can try to be whoever we want, and if who we want is somebody that shares our soul with an animal, or who we want is someone who rides a dragon, or who we want is a really evil necromancer that can just raise an entire army of undead, we should be able to be those people because they're all equally important. What I think about homebrews. Personally, back when I started running 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, jumping from my uncle teaching me in 3rd edition and learning a bit of Pathfinder from other people, I would not have allowed it because I wasn't comfortable with that. And I told my players, and they were really chill guys, and they were like, we'll cover it some in other campaigns. And that's fine, and that campaign was great, and it grew to be something awesome, and we had a good time because of it. But now, there are so many cool things out there that I want to experience when I play the game, and I want my players to be able to experience, that I would like them to have that opportunity. So my thoughts on it, if you're new to the game, if you're overwhelmed, if you don't have a lot of time, maybe just reflavor some stuff in the PHB or Xanthar's Guide. But if you really want to dive into an immersive experience, look at some of these homebrewed classes. Personally, here on Monsters and Munchkins, I will be doing a series based off of this called To Brew or Not to Brew, where we look at homebrews across the internet, ranging from Wizards of the Coast Unearthed Arcanas to the amazing RBOH5 subreddit, to the Unearthed Arcana subreddit, and if you really want me to, D&D Wiki, but I'd really rather not. If you have homebrews that you guys would like me to look at, leave them down in the comments, and I will be sure to take a look at them. Until we meet next time, have fun and roll some dice.